Anyway, where everything's made up and the points don't matter. And on today's show, we have...
Okay, first of all, that's not... This, what? Okay, it's not complicated.
Thursdays is when I do that show. Sorry.
But we could still do points that don't count.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
yeah.
Hey, everybody. I'm Reverend Chase. I'm the executive pastor at Central United Methodist Church, and this is...
I'm Virginia Brown. I'm the college pastor and the director of the Wesley.
And we are here continuing to read the Bible and to go on this journey together. Just note, Reverend Jenny is on a trip, and so she'll be back with us next week. And so we're going to dive right in. Just remember that when we come to the Old Testament and the Bible in particular, that there's some parts that might be a little bit difficult to hear and to think about, to digest. And so make sure if you have those who are around you with sensitive ears that you're mindful of those conversations that might be taking place here coming up. So we're diving into week 11.
Yeah, with just Chase and I.
It's just us two.
Going to be fun.
Someone else is in Chicago, but, that's okay.
Work stuff or whatever.
Do you know when, parents go to trips and they bring home something?
Yeah, trip gifts.
I wonder if, said person would listen to this and bring us home, trip gifts.
That would be nice.
Would be great.
I did get a gift when she went to England.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I got catnip stuff. Yeah.
Wait a second. Pause the podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know that I got anything.
She brought me back this planter thing that was you just plant it in the garden and it grows out like catnip and stuff for cats.
Okay, well, we're just going to go back into the Bible because I don't think I might have gotten
Jenny,
something.
If you hear this in the future... Chase wants a trip
gift.
I
want a trip gift. No, it's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. I bet I got something I probably forgot.
Probably.
Okay, we're in 1 Samuel chapter 25. And it seems like every good story starts with a death. And so
Moses died a couple of weeks ago. Samuel's dead now.
Samuel died. And the entire assembly of Israel mourned for him.
Yes.
Then they buried him, and then we get the next story.
Yeah. They're like, come on. Let's keep moving.
So David and his crew are still hiding.
Yeah.
Although, we'll talk about that in a second. But David, they're in this wilderness, and they're chilling in Nabal's land.
Right.
Okay, so Nabal is this rich person, has lots of sheep.
He has a wife.
Yes. But more importantly, no, I'm just playing. He thinks lots of sheep and possessions. He's very
He's got
rich.
A lot of things.
And the shepherds are out there caring for the sheep, and David and his crew are chilling with them. And so David sends some of his crew to see Nabal. And he's like, hey, go see him in peace. Let him know that his shepherds and our crew have been chilling together and we're at peace and it's all good. In fact, we want to know if you can send some food our way because it's feast day.
Yeah, it's feast day.
So we need something to eat. And so Nabal gets this message from the messengers and Nabal's like, David, who? It's like, I don't know.
Who is this person?
Who is this? Who is David?
David?
Who is that? Son of who? I don't know. I never heard of Jesse. But anyway, Nabal's like, y'all are getting zip. Nada.
What?
Nothing.
How dare they?
I know.
No, I mean, hospitality is a big deal. And Nabal?
Not for Nabal.
Not for him.
Not for Nabal.
No.
But David's men go back to report all the things that happen. And literally David says, strap up.
You know what? Those are fighting words.
David's kind of gone gangster on us, and will in a couple of more scenarios in the future. But this time he's like, let's strap up. But it's not going to be just a few messengers like he sent before. He's going to roll up with 400 folk.
Oh my goodness gracious!
That's right, folk.
So many.
But one of the 400 actually goes to Nabal's wife, Abigail.
Yeah.
I love that name. And they're like, Abigail, this is going down. And she's like, what happened? And then he's like, well, this is what happened. And Abigail's like, oh, gosh.
I got to save the day again.
I've got to fix this.
I don't know if she saved it before, but she does, she's a capable lady.
I feel like she has been like, this again.
Yeah, come on, guys.
So I think she already knows what to do. So she sends 200 loaves, 2 slings of wine, 5 dressed sheep, 5 measures of arched grain, 100 clusters of raisins, 200 cakes of figs, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Clusters of raisins. How delightful.
I'm digging the fig cakes. I'm going to talk about that. Well, this is like day 4 on a keto, so any kind of cake I'm up for. Carrot,
Yes.
apple cake. I don't know. Anyway, back to the story. So she sends all this stuff. Then she goes before David, and she's like, "Listen, my husband, I know what he did.
He's kind of the worst sometimes.
He is the worst. In fact, you know his name is Nabal. You know that actually means fool. So he was a fool. He's a fool.
He is. He is a fool.
And she's like, look, we're so sorry. And David was like, look, all's well. Go home. We're at peace. And so she goes home, and guess what Nabal's doing?
Oh, no.
Throwing down a big old party.
Of course he is.
We're talking about the feast. And he's like, oh, the feast sounds kind of good. So feast is going on. Nabal was lit. Like he was gone. And she's like, listen, I can't talk to him right now. He's too far gone. And so the next morning, she told him about her encounter with David, and his heart died.
Yeah.
And he became like stone.
Oh, that's right.
For 10 days.
Yeah.
And then he died. And I'm like, what does this mean?
Did he have a stroke?
That's what I was thinking. Like,
Yeah.
did he have a stroke or like a coma from the booze? Or was he just like hard-hearted? Or I don't know. But anyway.
But yeah, he's dead. Now.
Well, so what do you do when somebody dies?
Is there another party?
Well, kind of. David married her.
Oh, of course he did.
He's like,
of course David did.
Listen, you're going to be my wifey now. And so
Those cakes were amazing.
and when the fig cakes got me.
Yes.
I'm just that is the way to a man's heart is through the stomach.
That's
I
right.
don't know. I don't know.
I assume. I don't.
I'm going to make a lot of food metaphors today.
Sounds
I'm
great.
a little hangry.
Yeah.
I had my 5th salad in 4 days. I'm kind of like done.
I haven't eaten anything solid today, and I should have before this.
But I love the ending of this chapter because after this long story, it also says David also married Anahoam of Jezreel, or however you say that. And so we don't get that story. We get this story. And it's like, by the way, David also marries somebody else, and both of them becomes his wife. Now, don't forget that last week we talked about his other wife, Saul's daughter.
Yeah, Michael.
Michael, yeah. And she'll come up again, but also it's like, what was it? Saul gave her to Paddy's son of Laish, who was from Gallic. I have no idea what this postscript from the story is about.
I don't know.
It's like, why do we need to know that? But okay, well, there it was.
I had a friend who is named Michael, was a girl growing up and spelled it just like this. I thought it was super cool. Yeah.
There's so many great names in the Bible.
Absolutely.
So many ones that I can't say, but it's okay. It's okay. We can just kind of make it up when we go along. But if you're reading along with us and you're like, Chase, that's not how you say it, it's fine. It's me.
We're on chapter 26 now.
We are on chapter 26. So the Ziphites come to Saul and they give away David's hiding place. Now, the last time that Saul and David parted from one another, they were
in the cave.
It was a stinky situation.
It was very awkward. Like I could have, but
so awkward. Remember, Saul was kind of like, you're so blessed and merciful, and you're going to be such a great king, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no.
But the Ziphites were like, David's still hiding. Here's where he's at.
Yes.
And so Saul brings some folks towards David, and David sends some spies to find Saul. And they find him. And so David and Zeruiah, Zeruiah, however you say that, goes with David. And there's Saul. And Saul is snoozing hard, right?
This guy
was taking a tiger snooze. So and what was weird is that just so happens there's a spear in the ground next to Saul's head.
Yes.
And a jug of water. And so Zeruiah, or Z was like, hey, David, let me take care of Saul. And David's like, shh, fam, we can't because he's the Lord's anointed. So we gotta tiptoe out of here. So this time, David, instead of like the coat cutting, the snip, David takes the spear. Remember, Saul's not that good with a spear, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter if they woke up, but takes the spear and the cup of water. And then they go on this high mountain far away, but not too far, because David starts to yell. And David doesn't yell for Saul. David starts yelling at Abner. It's a fun name, too.
Abner. Little Abner.
And Abner's going to be in our story throughout the chapters to come. And so he's like, hey, Abner. And Abner's like, who's calling for the king, first of all? David didn't call for the king. He called you. Second of all,
right.
You don't speak for the king. Third of all, David's like, Abner, you have one job to do, because Abner was the commander of Saul's armies.
Yes.
But also like Saul's protector. Like when Saul was sleeping,
Absolutely.
Abner's supposed to be up.
Yeah, come on,
watching.
Abner.
Like, look out.
This is the second time now. You just let this happen.
And Abner's like, what are you talking about? And David's like, looky, I got hooky. But I'm like, look what I got. Have y'all seen that? Hook.
Like the movie Hook.
Looky, I got hooky. Oh, yeah. The movie Hook.
Yeah, I've seen it.
So-
it's a good movie. I don't remember that exact reference.
Anyway, he's like, I got the spear, I got the water bottle, whatever it is. And then Abner's like, oh, snap. And then Saul's like, who's that? Who's that voice I hear? Is it David? David, is it you?
Goodness.
And David's calling back. Like, this is like the commercial for the cough drops. Like,
It is,
Like, they're on
yes.
two different mountains. And it's like, is that you? And then David's like, it is me. And why are you still going after me? I thought we were cool.
Oh, how dare you?
And so Saul's like, my bad. I promise again that I will never harm you. And so David's like, okay, you can have your spear back.
Okay, you can have your stuff back.
And the bottle of water. And so they send some people over to get the spear and the water bottle. It must have been his favorite, like a koozie or something. Like everybody has their favorite bottle.
They had a Stanley.
What, the Stanley, yeah.
It was Saul's.
It was Saul's Stanley. And then they parted ways again.
They were gone.
Well, David is kind of done with Saul again. He's like, man, this is getting old. So in chapter 27, David's like, I'm going to bounce for a little while.
Yeah.
He ends up going to a Philistine king.
Gath.
It's Achish. Achish.
Yep.
Of Gath. Yes. Yeah. But it wasn't just David that went. This is kind of odd. He took all of his folk.
You know what? Everybody's going to go.
Everybody. It says 600
we all
men, so I'm
invited.
thinking like there's wives and children
Oh,
too.
yeah,
I'm
so
assuming
many.
the whole community, like, because that's when they went into hiding the first time. Like David gathered like a full community around him. So I'm assuming they're just kind of off on him, kind of like Moses in the wilderness,
A little bit.
a little bit, but not. We don't get a lot of recaps of the law.
Thank the Lord.
They just do a lot of fighting.
They do. Like, you know what? Let's just fight.
So Saul found out again where David was and was like, okay, I don't need to worry about him. He's not here. And so David and the king Achish are kind of cool. And David's like, listen, we're up in your La Castle and we're like, we don't,
That was good.
there's 600 plus of us.
Yeah.
And you know what? I tell you what, if you would just give us like a small town, we'll go and be in our little small
And we'll
town.
do it. Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, and then he's like, okay, here you go. Here's a small town.
But this is in the country of the Philistines, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Still, yeah. Yep. And let's see. Well, and the town was named Ziklag.
Yeah.
And whoever wrote this story said at that time whenever this was written, they said, therefore Ziklag had belonged to the kings of Judah to this day. So evidently
Oh,
it
wow.
just kind of stayed in the lineage.
Yeah.
So they lived there for 1 year and 4 months, and David was still doing David things with his posse. They were making raids. So they were going around and they were doing a lot of them, and they
Yeah.
were ruthless.
Oh, absolutely. David is both the best and the absolute worst. That's how I feel about David.
I'm sure if they were a part of what is said against the Neb of Judah, against the Neb of the Jeremites, and against the Kenites, I mean, I bet all those people were like, yeah, David, you're the worst.
Yeah.
Because not only are you taking everything and destroying everything, you do not leave anybody left behind because they're all
No.
dispatched.
You know, in real life, I don't think I'd be friends with David. He's just too much.
He's a little lot.
Yes.
He's a little lot for sure. So then we get to chapter 28, and
Which is like it sounds like the story and stuff that goes on like a young adult like drama novel.
this is
Saul and the Witch of
yes,
Endor.
yes. I'm like when I started this particular chapter, I was like, this is perfect for spooky season.
is, yeah.
I was just like, this is great. So the Philistines are taking out Saul again. They're just coming up against him, and so Saul's like, you know what? I'm going to go see a medium, a fortune teller, somebody who can contact the dead.
Teresa Caputo, where are you?
Who is that? Oh, is
She's
that?
on the Long Island medium.
Oh, it's the one that's like, hey, y'all.
Yeah, and I got the hair. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just imagine
somebody's
her.
around you. There's an aura over
That's
here.
right, there is.
Yeah, like maybe a mother figure? No, a father figure?
the father
okay,
figure.
that's what it is.
Sorry.
So I'm watching The Sopranos. I feel like I can get it down pretty good. So
Oh man, definitely from Long Island.
so Saul sends one of his servants to find a medium. Now Saul had dispatched and ran all the witches, all the warlocks out of Narnia, okay? And so and there's nobody left, and it was like a crime to be a medium. But they find one, and Saul goes incognito, and he's like, hey, can you bring up a spirit? And she's like, I can't do that. And he's like, no, it's okay, I won't tell anybody.
I won't tell.
And she's like, okay, who do you want me to call?
What about Samuel?
Yeah. And then she's like, oh, Samuel.
Yeah.
Oh, I know who you are. You're Saul. And he's
I
like,
didn't tell you my name.
he's like, listen, it's okay. I came to you. I sought you out. Can you just call up Samuel? And she's like, or however they do it.
Yeah, whatever
and then,
they do.
Then Saul's like, what do you see? And then she goes, I see an old man in a robe. And Saul's like, oh my gosh, that's him.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I once clipped his robe in a cave. That's him.
Oh my gosh. And then but you're like, okay, it's kind of like one of those things, like maybe it's a figure that loved you. Oh, my mother loved me. And then you kind of go, like, it's an old man in a robe. Yeah, that sounds like him.
Yeah.
But then there's a conversation that happens.
Yes.
Saul and Samuel start talking to one another. And Saul's like, Sam,
Dude.
I'm in distress. God has turned away from me. And Samuel's like, why are you telling me this?
I'm dead.
I'm dead. This is the Lord's work. Maybe you should call upon the Lord,
You know
right?
what? Yes.
And then Samuel reminds him, remember that you didn't listen to me, and this will come to pass just like as I said. Your reign is going to go to David. And Saul knew that because he even told David, you're going to be such a great leader, you know? Well, it gets dramatic.
Oh,
well, it
again.
doesn't. Saul does. Saul falls out. The Bible says full length.
Yeah. Just
Plop.
kid, tantrum.
It was great. He hadn't eaten all day. And the woman was like, okay, listen, Saul, pat on the back.
You okay, bud?
I risked my life listening to you and helping you out. So hear me out. Have a piece of bread. Please don't die. Here.
A little hangry, man.
And Saul was like,
He's like,
no,
I will not eat.
I'm done for. But she made some bread and roasted a cow, and then they ate and went on. Oh my goodness. It was, wow.
Just so much.
So much. So we are in chapter 29.
Why is my thing not working?
And so David's still chilling in Philistine, whatever you want to call it. He's still chilling over there. And the Philistines gathered, not just one, not just two, but all of their forces. And so all the armies, hundreds by thousands, were passing by, and they're there. And the commanders are like, that guy looks familiar.
Yeah, I think I've seen him before. Who is this guy?
Is that David?
Is that him?
Is that little David? Little Dave, what are you doing here?
Let's see if he dances.
But they were like, listen, this is the guy. Y'all know the song. Saul killed thousands and David his 10,000s. That song, y'all, was about us.
Y'all been singing this.
David's got to go. Him and all his folk got to
Yes.
go. Got to go.
This little song. Get out.
And so when they were walking, I don't know why, but Achish, the king, David was falling behind them, and they're all in the back of this group. And Achish was like, "Listen, David, I think you're okay, but the rest of everyone, not so much. Maybe you should go home.
Maybe.
And go in peace."
And like, this is a really unusual situation where David's honor is preserved by his enemies.
Yeah.
Which is crazy pants.
And so David's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go home." Well, he does have a home.
Okay.
It's Ziklag.
Oh no.
And so David's like, "I'm gonna go home." And from a distance, when they come over the hill towards Ziklag, there's a little bit of smoke.
Oh,
going
no.
on. And David's like, what's that? Did I leave the oven on? I don't know.
My straightener. Oh my gosh, I left my straightener on.
But as they come across, they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's nothing's left.
No.
It's been pummeled or
Yeah,
whatever."
they've taken it all out.
So the Amalekites
Mm-hmm.
had made a raid on two places, Negeb and Ziklag.
Yep.
Now, this is how people survived. Just to, they would go from one town to the other, and if they didn't have anything, they would just conquer it and take it and make it their
Yeah.
own. I mean, there's a lot of plundering.
Yeah.
Plundering? Is that a word? Yeah, that's
I
it.
just don't think I would
sounds
last
good.
very long in this type. There's just a lot of anxiety-inducing things.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
We just left a
So
war.
much.
And then we're going to have another. Well, this one was not as potent as David's raids because they did take everything. They did kill the men, but they took the women and children.
Okay.
And of the women and children, they took his two wives, David's two wives.
Oh
And
no.
so they mourned for everybody. And David's like, "God, can I go get them?"
Can I go get my two wives?
And God's like, yes, please go get them. And so David goes, and on the way, there's this Egyptian who was left behind because he was sick, and he was part of the raid. David was like, "Listen, can you take me to the people who destroyed my town and has my wives?"
Yeah.
And the Egyptian was like, "Listen,
You know what?
let's make a deal. I'll do that if you don't kill me."
I feel like that. Yeah.
That's a pretty good deal.
Pretty good deal.
Right? Was it upheld?
No.
So David was like, "Okay, sure."
Sure, bud. Wink.
So David was led to where they were camping, and of course, they just had a big plunder. So
They
guess
did.
what they're doing? They're partying it up.
Of course they are.
Bring out the
Dadgummit.
roasted cows and bring out the wineskins.
Well, let's party.
Yeah, let's party. And they were. And so David's like, "Look, they're partying. Now's our chance." And so David and his crew begin to slaughter them from twilight until the evening of the next day.
That sounds exhausting.
I know.
Are we in 31 now?
We are there. Well, David did save his two wives.
He
so
did.
they were still there. So yay.
Yay, good job. But yikes.
And now the story grows deeper. So we are in chapter 31. Okay. And this is where it starts to get a little sad, but also transition and power begins to happen.
Yeah.
And it happens over the next couple of chapters. So the Philistines fought against Israel. Remember that big group that they were getting together? They're like, it's about to
gonna
go
do
down.
it.
We're going. We're going in. And at first, they killed David's soulmate, Jonathan, and John's little brother.
Yeah.
So they did. And the fighting was going on, and Saul heard about it. And of course, Saul's fighting too. In fact, Saul was injured by the archers and asked his arms bearer, he's like, "Listen, they can't kill me. You're going to have to kill me."
Yeah. And this is, talk about dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want the enemy to kill me, but You can.
You can.
Of course, the arms bearer is like, nada.
No,
I'm not killing the
I
king.
just hold your stuff, man.
I hold the sword. I don't.
I don't even
stick
know
you
how to
with
use.
the
What do
sword.
I do with this?
And so Saul's like, fine, if you won't do it, I'll do it. So Saul falls on his own sword, and then the arms bearer, seeing that Saul had fallen on his sword, was like,
You know what? Yes.
sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
And so Saul, and then the arms bearer falls on his sword. And
I
then
didn't realize how awful that is.
It is.
And I've seen it what they used to do when they'd fall on their sword. It is horrific.
Oh my gosh.
Just
Ugh.
the worst.
We're turning to 2 Samuel chapter 1. And like last week when we had kind of like two introductions to people or two different stories, so we kind of have two different stories about Saul's death. It could have been the same one, but also let's go into it. So we're at 2 Samuel chapter 1. If my computer will, there we go.
Yeah, David's like, you know what? Jonathan, he was my dude.
My dude.
I got to write a song about him.
That's at the end of the chapter.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm
So-
jumping ahead.
Oh, hang on. But
I'm ready.
Talk all about the song.
Yes.
So David was a little bit dramatic though.
He was probably. Could we say that he's the most dramatic biblical character?
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think so. So after the death of Saul, David returned from defeating the Amalekites.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and on the third day, this man comes up from Saul's camp, and he has his clothes torn and dirt on his head.
Oh no!
When he came to David, he fell on the ground, and David said to him, "Where are you coming from?" And he said, "I've escaped from the camp of Israel." And David said to him, "How did things go there?
Yeah.
What's
tell me
going
about
on?"
it.
And then he answered, "The army fled from the battle, but also many of the armies fell and died, and Saul and his son Jonathan also died." And David's like, whoa.
Wait, what'd you just say?
How do you know that Saul and his son Jonathan died? He's like, I want you to tell me how that it is
I need to
done
know all
and
the
how
details.
it happened.
Tell me the tea.
And then, right, spill it. And then this young man reporting said, "I happened to be on this mount, and then there was Saul leaning on his spear, and this chariots and the horsemen drew close to him. So when he looked behind him, he saw me, and he called to me, and he said, come here." And I said, "I'm here." And then Saul said, "Who are you?" And I told him, "I'm an Amalekite."
Oh.
Uh-uh.
Oh, okay.
And then Saul said to me, "Come stand over me and kill me, for I have convulsions and I'm seizing right now, and my life
Can you
still
not tell?
lingers." I'm just like, wait a second, didn't Saul fall on his own sword?
Yeah.
So here's this Amalekite telling David, "Well, I stood over him and I killed him, for I knew that he could not live after he had fallen. And I took the crown that was on his head and the amulet that was on his arm, and I brought them to you." So here you go.
Trip gifts.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, goodness.
But here's where David's like, okay. So David, as soon as he saw the crown and the amulet, he was like, oh gosh, it's true. Jonathan's dead, Saul, but Jonathan's dead. And then he tore his clothes, and the men who were with David was like, you know what? Us too,
You know
bro.
what?
We're in this together.
We're in this. Bring on the drama. We need more.
And they mourned and they wept and they fasted until the evening for Saul and his son Jonathan, and for the army of the Lord and the house of Israel, because they had been struck down.
Dadgummit.
And then David's like, wait a second. Where do you come from?
Wait. Where are you?
And then this little messenger guy is like, I'm an Amalekite.
Yeah.
And David was like, were you not afraid to lift your hand to destroy the Lord's anointed? Talking about Saul. And then David's like, come here, y'all, and take care of him.
Yeah.
And so he dies.
So much for, hey, don't kill me. I'm going to tell you all this info. But,
Right.
Well, come on, David.
Oh, wait, yeah, you did kill Saul, so
yeah.
you got to die. Mm-hmm. And then, like every important life event, you should make a musical out of it.
That's right. And they do. There is a musical
Yeah.
about David and Jonathan. Anyway.
There's a whole song. You can read it there.
Yes.
How the mighty have fallen and the weapons of war perished. That's how it ends. The drama.
So much.
All right, so we go on to chapter 2, and after the king dies, what happens? Another king is
Yeah. What are
kind
we
of
going to
crowned.
do?
Well, this happens to be David. And so David's like, hey, God, should I go up to any of the cities in Judah? And God's like, go to Hebron.
Okay.
And so he goes. But at the same time, Abner, remember Abner?
I do remember Abner, the son of Ner.
Sleepy Abner.
Yep.
Commander of Saul's army. Saul did have a surviving son, Ishbaal. And so Abner took Ishbaal and made him king of Israel. And he
Okay.
reigned for 2 years at 40 years of age.
All right.
But the house of Judah followed David, and David was king for 7 years and 6 months over Judah. But they have this little interaction. There's this place called Gibeon, and there's a little battle that happens here. And so,
Because we need another battle.
and it's really kind of odd. So, what happens is that they're just sitting there, and
Ooh.
Abner's like, you know what? We should have a contest.
Let's do it.
And Joab, who is son of Zeruiah, anyway, servant of David.
Yeah. Complicated
And he's
names.
like, well, yeah, let some folks come forward. And so they have a couple people come forward, and then it escalated.
Of course it does.
The game
The drama.
was not a game.
No.
They started grabbing people by the head and stabbing them in their side.
Or their stomach, or
and it's like
horrible.
This is not a fun game.
No. Hey, can we play Go Fish?
Right? How about not pin the sword on my stomach? I mean, that'd be great. And so then the fighting breaks out, and this is so weird. So Abner begins running, and he's followed by Ashel, who is a brother of Joab. And so he's like, Ashel, why are you running after me? And Ashel's like,
why?
I'm going to come get you. And he's like, Abner's like, you better turn left or right and get some plunder or do something else. And Ashel's like, I can't do that. And so Abner's like, okay, I warned you, and took the spear from in front of him and pushed it behind him, stabbing Ashel through the stomach
Yeah.
and the back.
And the back.
And then, so he's down, and then his brothers start to follow Abner.
This is just.
It's so weird.
Come on. Guys, can we put our swords down for 5 minutes?
Well, Abner gets away,
Okay.
and there's this Abner. He just,
That guy.
dadgummit.
I'm just a troublemaker.
He really
Tell you
is.
what. Okay.
There's still a long war that happens between Abner's kind of doing and David. So it's really a battle between the house of Saul and the house of David
Yep.
at this point. And this is just crazy because at this time David has several sons, and the family grows. David's house grows. Saul's house diminishes, but at the same time, Abner is still gaining power and authority.
Yep.
And so Abner sent messengers to David and was like, listen, to whom does the land belong? Maybe we can come out with an agreement.
Let's try to figure this out.
Listen, I'll give you my support, and I'll bring Israel over to you. He's trying to work a deal.
Yeah.
Let's make a deal. And maybe if I have some land and I have some property and I have some things, it's okay. And I will just help you rule everything.
Yeah.
So
It's so
Abner,
convenient for him.
Abner goes and meets with David, and they're like, okay, so here's kind of how we're going to work this out. Here's our treaty. You do these things, but just go ahead and just go away. Just take
Just
care
go
of
away
it.
in peace, please.
So Abner goes ahead and brings all of the representatives from everywhere else to David, and is like, okay, we're gonna go this. But while he's away from David's sight, he runs into Joab. Joab is the brother of Ashel, who was stabbed by Abner. I think that's right. Yes. Just want to check my names. Yes.
You did a great job with that.
And Joab's like, what's this fool doing?
Yeah.
And so eventually Joab goes to David and's like, how is he still here? And Joab dispatches Abner. Abner's done for.
Dadgummit.
Okay. All right. We are on to chapter 4.
4.
But Saul's son Ishbal is still around, and he hears about Abner dying, and he's like father, like son. He's like, "Oh my gosh,
Oh no,
it's over."
What am I gonna do?
And then it goes into this side story of Saul's son Jonathan's son, who was crippled in his feet.
Yeah.
He was 5 years old when news about Saul and Jonathan came from Jezreel, and his nurse picked him up and fled. And so Jonathan's son is safe at the moment. And in her haste to flee, it happened. So she dropped him, and he became lame. Okay, his name was.
Yikes!
Here's a name for you.
Oh no.
Mephibosheth.
Oh, Mephibosheth. Yes, I know him.
Oh my goodness. So there's that side story, and now the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite,
Yes.
Rechab, and Bana set out, and it was about the heat of the day, so noon, and they came to the house of Ishbal, and he was taking his noonday rest.
You know, I understand.
I love a good nap in the
Yes.
afternoon, right? Well, they came inside the house like they were going to take some wheat, and they struck him in the stomach.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and then Rechnab and his brother Banana.
It's not
Whatever.
banana, but it's not too far off.
Escaped.
Banah.
Oh, now they had come into the house while he was lying on his couch in his bedchamber, and they attacked him, killed him, and beheaded him. Then they took the head and traveled with it all the way to Arabah, and all night long, and they brought the head of Ishbal to David at Hebron.
Because
Hebron,
David's done that before.
right?
Yeah.
And said to the king, "Here's the head of the son of Saul." Whew. My goodness.
You did it. Yeah.
Okay. See, Saul's dead. All right. So, chapter 5. So, at this point, there's no successor for Saul's
Yeah.
household.
What are we going to do?
And so, David's there. And David is anointed king of Israel. So, all the tribes of Israel come to David at Hebron and said, "Look, we are your bone and flesh, and we know that it's you." And so, at this point, Jerusalem is made capital of this united kingdom, right?
It's funny to read that and be like, Jerusalem's the capital of the UK.
Right.
But not.
The United Kingdom of Israel.
Yes.
And now, Jerusalem was inhabited by the Jebusites, and David took stronghold of Zion. So, Jerusalem was already in existence by another culture, right?
Yeah.
And they are inhabitants from another civilization. And so David took stronghold at Zion, went ahead and took over Jerusalem, built it up, and named it the city of David. Yeah.
Very, yeah.
Very
like,
me.
yeah.
This is me.
Obvious. Way to go.
And then there was established of a city, and there was peace forever. Until the Philistines found out that David was king over all Israel, and they're like,
Whoa, not us.
yeah, we need to go to war. But David struck them down via God.
Of course.
Well, now that David settled into Jerusalem and the city of David, there's one thing that's missing.
Oh, no.
It's the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh, of course.
And so this is chapter 6. They go to move the Ark to Jerusalem. And so as they're moving it, I can't say this name either. Uzzah.
Yeah.
Uzzah.
Oh, Uzziah. No?
No, I.
It is just
Uzzah. Was like, trips, falls, and touches the ark and was struck dead. I don't know if he tripped and fall, but he touched the ark and
no.
The anger of the Lord.
Ding.
Ding. Yeah.
Yep.
And David's like, look, I'm not taking that into my house. You can leave the ark at Obed-Edom. Obed-Edom. And so the ark was left with Obed-Edom. And then that house started to become blessed because God's there.
I mean, yeah.
And David's like, you know what?
You guys.
I'm the king.
I should be blessed.
I should be blessed. And so David's like, we need to go get that.
You know what? I want what they have. And David does that a whole bunch.
Yeah, and he did.
Yeah,
he went and got the ark.
He's going to do it some more after
And
this,
the
too.
ark comes to the city of David. And then this is where David puts on the ephod. It's an apron that high priest would wear. And David dances
bedazzled, right?
before the Lord in his bedazzled apron. I don't know what that was about.
I know what you're getting for Christmas.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, here's our friend we haven't seen in a while, David's wife, Michael. Looks out the window, sees David leaping and dancing and having a good time.
I hate the end of this story.
And she's so mad.
Yeah.
She's so mad. And burnt offerings were given. David comes home. It's like, hey, babe, what's up? I just got to dancing. She's like, oh, I saw you.
I saw you
Let
dancing.
me tell you what I think about that. You are the king. How weird is it that you're out there dancing? And this is where it gets a little weird for me. And so maybe I'm reading something else into it. But verse 22, wait, we're in 6. Let me get to my Bible to the right place. I was like questioning verse 22 because of verse 23. And so 23 says, and Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no children to the day of her death.
I know.
But it's right after she gives her spiel about, why are you dancing before the Lord? And then David's like, it was before the Lord who chose me in place of your father and all of his household to appoint me as prince over all Israel, the people of the Lord. And I'm going to dance before the Lord. This is the weird one. I will make myself yet more contemptible than this. Contemptible?
Contemptible? I don't. That's a hard word.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Undignified.
KJV says undignified.
There we go.
Okay. Then this. So you thought dancing
Oh.
was a lot? Wait. And then I'll be humbled in my own eyes. But by the maids of whom you have spoken, by them I shall be held in honor.
Yeah. It's so bizarre.
What?
Yeah, like why get mad at me but then I hate how like this ends of like Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no children until the day of her death. It's like you confronted David about his dancing. Sorry.
Well, and then and is it that, or is it also because like the lineage of Saul, would that carry under her?
Yeah. I mean, that part of it could be seen as that. So maybe.
Well, then we kind of divided and conquered this week.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to take over.
You got this.
And it's going to happen. So we are in chapter 7, and this is God's covenant with David. David is now settled in his palace. He desires to build this house for God. When he shares this idea with the prophet Nathan, God responds through Nathan that David will not build the temple. Sorry, you can't build it.
No.
Can't.
I didn't like your dance.
You know what? You did not dance well enough. No temple for you. Anyway. So instead, God will establish a lasting dynasty through David's lineage.
Like the ducks.
You know, this is kind of like reminds me of Moses' story of like, Moses, you won't see the promised land, but your people will.
Fair.
And so it's like, David, your people will see this amazing temple.
Man,
but you won't.
There's some more parallels than I thought then, now that you
Yeah.
brought that up. Like he lived in the wilderness with his people for a long time before he
did.
made it to Jerusalem.
There's a lot of similarities, yeah. So promising that one of David's descendants will reign forever. And then it says overwhelmed. David's overwhelmed. Of course he is, because he's dramatic. He responds, though, with gratitude and humbly accepts God's blessing.
Thank you, God.
Yeah, thank you so much for this. Yeah, anything else you wanted to add in chapter 7?
So God promises David everlasting dynasty. That's of course that's a hint.
Yeah.
Because we know.
Wink, wink, Jesus.
Right.
Yes.
We know that Israel like kind of dissolves a couple different times. So
Now, David is involved in some wars and some military victories. He wages successful military campaigns. He subdues surrounding nations and expands Israel's borders. So he's like, you know what? Now that I'm king, we're taking over. We're going to do it. His tactics are harsh, especially against the Moabites.
ooh, what happened?
That is a great question. Can you dive into it?
Well, so he defeated the Moabites and then made them lie down on the ground,
Yeah.
measured them off with a cord. He measured 2 lengths of cord
That
for
is
those who were
right.
to
Yes.
be put to death, and 1 length for those who were to be spared.
Yes. And
then the ones who were spared became servants to David. Yeah.
yeah, and the rest. Sorry about that.
Good.
Yeah, yikes. So much. This is come on, David. Come on. So like I said, his tactics are harsh. He reduces by killing 2/3 of the captured soldiers.
Wow.
This campaign brings wealth and stability to his kingdom, of course, David's, and it strengthens his position as the king.
It was just like his gift was war and plunder.
I mean, he was good at it.
I mean, yeah.
But yikes.
Yeah.
And then we're into chapter 9. And David is kind to Mephibosheth.
Yeah, this is weird. Because David made a promise.
Yes.
Lifelong promise to Jonathan. Jonathan was
They're
like,
BFFs.
soulmates. And so Jonathan was like, listen, if I die, don't take your anger out on any of my household.
Yeah.
And if I'm supposed to be put to death, I don't want anybody to kill me but you, David.
But you can kill me.
But yeah.
And so Mephibosheth, that's who we talked about a little bit earlier,
Yeah.
right? Who was spared.
Mm-hmm.
And so David remembers this covenant with Jonathan and seeks out the remaining family of Saul. Yeah. He finds Mephibosheth, Jonathan's son, who is disabled. Remember, he was dropped and he can't walk. Anyway, David restores Saul's land to him and honors him with this permanent place at the king's table.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, like treating him as family. I mean, Jonathan was family to him. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to offer some grace, I guess. That's what David does. Does he? Yikes. It's hard to see David's grace. Anyway, the Ammonites and the Arameans are being defeated. There's also this massive humiliation of David's messengers that happens. So David's attempt to console. Oh, are we in chapter?
Yeah, no, I'm
We're
like,
in
what
chapter
happened?
9. I was jumping ahead. I apologize.
No, you're right. In chapter 9 is where David's like, is there anybody left from Saul's household?
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah.
I'm curious. I was just saying, what happened? How were they? What was going on?
The humiliation. So David's attempt to soul Hanun, maybe the new king of the Ammonites, it backfires when Hanun humiliates David's messengers by, it says, shaving half of their beards and cutting their garments at the waist. Now, I don't think he just cut half of it off. I think he shaved like all the way down his face. Like half the left side of their face, like that beard was gone.
Bald,
yes.
And then hairy.
That is what happened.
And then nothing.
And then like Winnie the Pooh with half a beard.
Or in the song of Ray Stevens, well, they called him the freak.
Oh my goodness gracious. So, I mean, obviously this is a humiliation to David's side of things, and this leads to war.
Of course. I
mean, duh.
You can't shave half of a face and cut off their kilts and
then be like, okay. Yeah, so it leads to war, and David's forces ultimately achieve victory, like they always do, and adding more power to Israel in chapter 10. So yikes. And then we get to chapter 11.
Okay.
Which is both one of my favorite stories and just awful at the same time, I guess it could be.
Go for it.
So we have David and we have Bathsheba. A lot of us are very familiar with this.
Have no clue what happened.
You don't? Okay, so David is like, you know what? I'm up here in my fancy house and I'm looking around, surveying all that I have, and he sees a woman bathing from her rooftop, right? And he becomes overwhelmed with desire, and he summons her. Yeah, this is resulting in an affair that leads to a pregnancy. But I don't want to say like an affair.
Right.
Because do you say David's king? Can you say no to the king?
Right. Did she have a choice?
Did she have a choice?
In the matter?
No.
And also the plural, like Saul would give David's wives to other people.
Yeah.
So to be wed, is it because there wasn't a wedding, or is it just kind of like it's like a hookup?
Yeah. So yikes. So, but David's like, don't worry, okay? This woman's pregnant. I really liked her, yada yada, but I need to cover up what I've done.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, play 3D chess to figure this out. So David calls her husband, Bathsheba's husband, Uriah, and is like, hey, I need you to come home from battle for just a bit. Like, I know you're doing the war and I've sent you there, but I need you to come home. And David really needs Uriah to sleep with his wife so that she can become pregnant by her husband and everything will be fine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Problem solved.
Done. Except that's not what happens. Uriah is a really stand-up guy. And I want to say that he did what he was asked, and the poor guy, yikes. So he comes home from battle, and then Uriah's like, you know what? I'm not going to sleep in the same house as my wife. I'm going to sleep outside.
What?
Because all of my friends are back and battling and doing all of this stuff, so I'm just going to chill back here.
Oh, he had a good heart.
He did. He had a really good heart. He was an amazing dude, and that wasn't good enough. Obviously, he went back to war, and David's like, okay, my plan did not work, so what am I going to do? You know what? Let's just send him to the front lines.
Oh, my gosh.
And so by doing that, of course, Uriah sadly dies. And then Bathsheba gets word that her husband has died. And what does David do? Swoops in and goes, oh, that's so unfortunate for you. How about you just become my wife?
Yeah.
And that's what happens. It's just so frustrating, this story.
But Nathan finds out.
That's right. Nathan is really an awesome dude in this story. So Nathan condemns David in chapter 12, and God sends Nathan to confront David.
Yeah.
And through this parable about a rich man stealing a poor man's lamb, Nathan exposes David's guilt. He's like, David, dude, come on. And David actually repents, but Nathan reveals that his sin will bring turmoil to his family. Be like, you got consequences, bro, for doing this.
Consequences for your actions.
And sadly, it's Bathsheba and the baby that are the consequences. So the child that is born from David and Bathsheba sadly dies. And though they later have another son, Solomon, who God does favor.
Yeah.
Goodness. I know, it is so incredibly sad. So then Solomon is born, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because we might have a temple or something named after him. I don't know. And the Ammonites have been crushed. And that's where we are as far as that. But then we get into, do you have anything else you want to ask about the crushed Ammonites?
No. They had it coming. I don't know if they did.
So,
I'm just saying.
Some time has passed. I don't know how much, but now David's son, Absalom, which amazing name. This is another story that is very interesting, but it is because his grave we saw at the Holy Land. We didn't get to go to it.
Oh,
but they were like, that's Absalom's grave.
Okay. I was like,
Yeah.
like recently I've heard it.
So David's son Absalom had a beautiful sister whose name was Tamar. Okay. David's son Amnon fell in love with her.
Okay.
Yeah, and Amnon was so tormented that he made himself ill because his sister Tamar, for she was a virgin, and it seemed impossible for Amnon to do anything to her.
Wait.
Yep.
David's son Absalom had a beautiful sister who was named Tamar.
Yeah.
David's other son, Amnon, fell in love with her. So is that like steps? Is that a stepsister or it's twice removed?
A little bit incesty, but I don't know that it is.
Okay. Well, evidently they're under the same house, and they're like, no, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, I have it too that it says David's eldest son becomes infatuated with his half sister.
Okay.
It's just half.
Oh my gosh.
I know, it's the worst. So he deceives her into visiting his room, then assaults her because that's what happens.
What?
Yeah, he deceives her by, isn't there a robe or something involved in that?
Yeah, I'll be ill when you come. My sister tomorrow come and give something to eat. Oh, he said I'm gonna be sick.
Yes.
So Tamar's gonna give him something to eat, prepare food. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but then afterward, he despises her and he leaves her humiliated. Tamar's full brother Absalom harbors hatred for Amnon, which, I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Because what you did was wrong.
Yeah.
And eventually avenges her 2 years later by killing him during a feast.
Okay.
Yeah, David is devastated and loses his firstborn and now faces tensions with Absalom, who is now fleeing. He is running for his life.
Sounds familiar.
I mean, who else fled? Yeah, exactly.
That wasn't his son, but just kind of like his son.
So Absalom is David's son.
Yeah.
And here we are in chapter 14. Absalom does return to Jerusalem, but Joab, David's general, convinces David to allow Absalom to return from exile by arranging for a wise woman to tell David a parable. Absalom is returning to Jerusalem, right? And they kind of want David to reconcile with his son, and David permits Absalom to return, but refuses to see him for 2 more years. Like you can come.
I don't want to see your face.
You know what? For 2 more years.
I can't look at you.
I'm not. So Absalom, of course, is frustrated. I mean, he's probably dramatic. His father. Anyway. With being kept at a distance, he eventually burns Joab's fields to force a meeting. He's like, how do I get my dad to talk to me? I'm going to burn his friend's field. This will work. But it does. David allows Absalom into his presence. He's like, yes, you can come on in.
Wow.
I know. So David has forgiven Absalom for all of that. Everything, and then for running away. But Absalom is kind of the worst.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Worse than David?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, probably. He starts off by trying to win the hearts of the people by showing charm and promising fair judgment at the city gate. But Absalom is a bit of a conspiracy theorist.
Okay.
He begins a conspiracy against his father, declaring himself king in Hebron.
What?
Yeah, he's like, you know what? I'm going to be the king, not my father. And so he gathers followers. People are like, yes, of course. And David hears this. But he's not wanting to fight in Jerusalem.
Okay.
But it says he chooses to flee the city, or I guess this is Absalom, flees the city with his loyal followers.
And David leaves too. The hearts of Israel.
David flees from
The hearts
Jerusalem.
of Israel have
Yes.
gone after Absalom. David said to his officials that were with him at Jerusalem, get up, let's flee, or there will be no escape from us.
That's right. And so they head on out. And then... Oh, wait. He got a spy. I forgot about that. His name is
Hushai.
Hushai. He becomes David's spy. Of course, because David needs, another person at his side. Here we are in chapter 16. And who's Shimei?
Shmi?
Shmi? Yeah.
Shmi's off of
know
The
that.
Hook.
Yes. The Hook, another Hook reference tonight. It says Shimei's curses and Absalom's actions in Jerusalem.
Oh, nice. Shmi.
So Shimei, I guess, is a relative of Saul and publicly curses David, throwing stones and accusing David of Saul's downfall. Although David's men want to kill Shimei, David accepts the curse. He's like, you know what? I'll take this curse. I'll take it.
I got this.
Yeah. Seeing it as a possible divine judgment. Meanwhile, though, Absalom is entering Jerusalem following, that's a name, Othniel. Yeah, his advice. David takes concubines, symbolizing his claim to David's thrones. So he's like, I'm going to take my dad's concubines.
Yeah.
And they're just going to be mine, and this is what's going to happen.
That's it.
Hushai, the spy, is deciding to counsel David to figure out what's going on. He's a loyal friend who pretends to support Absalom.
Yeah, I got you, Ab.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? Okay.
You're my buddy.
But he's now acting, of course, as a spy. But then Othniel, there's a P in there too, advises Absalom to pursue David immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So then the spy cleverly gives this counter advice, suggesting that, hey, you know what, Absalom, why don't you wait just a bit?
Just chill.
Just chill.
Just chill.
And Absalom is like, okay, all right, I'm gonna, and in doing this, gives David this time to recoup and get ready for what he's eventually gonna do to his son.
Oh, gosh.
I know.
Okay.
But I will say,
This
you wanna
family
talk
drama,
about-
the family reunions must have stunk.
I wouldn't go back. If I was like one of David's kids, I'd be like, I'm just gonna move somewhere else.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you murdered your brother or something, yeah.
Oh, that's true.
But my goodness.
It's just a lot. So in chapter 18, is it this story? Yeah, the story is bananas.
Okay.
So the ensuing battle between David and Absalom is going on.
Yeah.
David instructs his commander to spare Absalom
Yeah.
because he's like, you know what?
It's my son.
Yeah. But Joab has other plans.
Uh-oh.
Because Joab's like, remember this little turd burned down my fields.
That's right.
And so Absalom's long hair. Okay, wait.
Okay.
He's on a horse.
All right.
He's on a horse. He's riding along.
And the hair is going
And the
through
hair is beautiful. And it's
like
flowy.
It's like one of those books my grandmother read.
Very Fabio.
Yeah.
Imagine
yeah.
that. And he's riding a horse. He's super majestic. But he decides to like go under a tree when he probably shouldn't.
Right.
And his hair gets entangled in the branches of an oak tree.
That mess up in a bun when you go to war.
That's right. That's right. So the horse takes off. Absalom is there hanging by his hair. He's left dangling, and Joab is like, okay.
There he
I'm
is.
just going to do it. You know what? I'm taking this. I'm going to kill Absalom.
Oh my
and David,
gosh.
yeah, even though David said no. So
somebody's like, that hair is to die for.
it
really
was,
is.
Literally. It's the thing that got him killed. But yeah, David's battle ends in his favor, but the victory is overshadowed by his deep grief for his son Absalom, who's now dead and died by getting his hair stuck in a tree. I mean, like, how funny and ridiculous is that?
Death by hair.
Death by hair. So, wrapping up, we're in our last chapter of 19. David is very sad over Absalom's death, and it's so overwhelming that his loyal soldiers feel neglected. Like,
wow.
Come on, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So Joab, fearing David's public grief, will demoralize the troops. Is that the right word? Yeah. Rebukes him sharply, reminding him of the loyalty his men have shown. With difficulty, David resumes his duties and prepares to return to Jerusalem to restore order to his kingdom.
Wow.
Though the events have left him deeply scared and changed.
That's a lot.
It is. We covered so much.
So he's changed. And then, well, that ends our story for a little bit. And then we'll pick it up with Sheba next week.
Sheba.
Oh my goodness. So the story of David continues next week. This has been, since we've gotten out of the wilderness, this has actually been kind of fun
It
to
has been
read.
fun.
I'm like,
Yes.
but also the reality of family dynamics back then were so cray.
I've agreed that like everyone's family is just a little crazy at times,
Yeah.
but like this is so much.
This makes it feel norm.
It does. You go, well, at least David's not my dad.
Right?
Oh man.
And I don't have to worry about my hair getting caught in a tree.
That is true.
Well, there you have it. Well, folks, this has been a week. So I'm so glad that you joined us for this conversation this week. And we will see you next week when all the trio will be here.
Woohoo!
So just remember that the Bible might be a little complicated, but Jesus loves you, and that's not complicated.
Amen.
So we'll see you next time.